Hope that old man got the tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit
it. Hey there, Jason.
Christopher, good
What's
evening.
happening?
Nothing much.
We actually have 6 viewers, dude. I thought for sure we'd have none since I put this up 15 minutes ago.
Why?
I don't know.
Who doesn't want to hang out with us on a Monday night impromptu?
Absolutely. We're the best ones on the show anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, we is.
Yeah. So, I was bored, and I wanted to talk about the Book of Boba.
Let's. Hello.
Yeah.
What
do you think of the preview?
I thought it was interesting. I liked the fact that we didn't get a lot of spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Some people kind of talked it down as if it was on the boring side, but I felt the opposite. I don't want too much thrown at me, just because I want to, I want to see that as it unfolds throughout the storyline. So I think the smart approach to what they did, rather than give you sort of like a wham bam in your face, wow, teaser, it was more of like, hey, here's the environment and sort of the feel that you should expect from the series. And that, I think, is a better approach for something that's this anticipated. I liked it. I think it was a smart approach, and I don't know. Yeah, there would have been some elements where if we would tease with a little bit more, would have been like, oh, but we don't know what they have set up for us, and I rather have that element of surprise.
Oh, I posted in Archive X group. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Yeah.
Interesting.
Let me go fix that. Go ahead, keep talking.
Always got models in the brain, brother.
I probably had that page right up, and then I thought I did in Archive. I hope I didn't.
So yeah, as I was saying, there's always some fun to be had.
Shit, I did.
When you get a little bit of that dropped on you, but this is the one time where I appreciated no spoilers, and
Yeah, I wanted. Well, I actually was a little surprised at how they were like, I'm not a bounty hunter. They're trying to come across as this like crime syndicate, which that's cool. But he was talking like it was like a corporation or something,
Yeah. Well, technically, I mean, this is where we're going to see a lot of. I think they're going to take advantage of this particular show and its platform to tie in a lot of other things, and also roll out. We're going to see a lot of additional things.
I think. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So, yeah, there's a lot of different directions that it can go into. One thing I did like is right in the opening, we saw a nice big, Grandma Monk.
That was awesome. That was
amazing.
That was really
so
cool.
Hopefully,
did you notice? Did you notice that Did you notice that Tom put up that was stop motion? Oh, God damn it!
No, I didn't see that. I hadn't been really active on the boards, but no, that's even better. I'd love to see something like that be made, in a kit form or even Hot Toys. Somebody, making that piece would be.
Well, Hasbro did it a couple times. Why is my computer not working? Holy shit!
Yeah, but it was so small. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. It was only like 3 3/4.
Yeah, 3 3. Yeah.
Oh man, my computer is really fucking up right now.
What's wrong? You need some backup, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, there it is. There, I got it. Okay. Oh well, I don't have to put it on the group. Screw it. I'll put it up later. But yeah, I was surprised it came out. What I noticed the most was a lot of groups on Facebook were doing like screenshots and taking notice to all the differences in his armor. Like little scratches here and little colors there, and like there was like squares on his shoulders and underneath his. What do you think these are for? What do you think that's for? I mean, immediately everybody's trying to like make a costume for him out of this, and also, thinking about what's the next hot toy going to be, and
See, that's the one thing that I think it's a little overwhelming. So when you date back to the original trilogy, and there's 7 variations of the helmet, or 6 to 7 variations of Vader, obviously more or less, whatever it may be, the exact numbers. That's because they were working within a budget. They were working with certain materials, and they had to have something fresh and as sort of up to par as they possibly could on screen, looking good and ready to go.
Right
now, they're just pushing things to the sake of pushing it. And now I'm sure with Filoni and Favreau behind it, there's a little bit more substance, behind what they're actually showcasing and what's going to be presented. But still, I mean, we've seen Boba, return for one series of The Mandalorian in just a couple episodes, and already we have 3 variations of the helmet. We have the post Sarlacc, we have the newly painted, and the one with some a little bit of battle damage that happened after it was painted, and then now we're going to see more of that. So that stuff, I mean, I'm not going to scrutinize it or put it on a magnifying glass. I'm just going to sort of take it or leave it for now, see where it leads us. I'm really drawn into where the story is going to take us, because I feel like there's a lot. This is sort of one of those shows I can make or break the direction that they go in. And I trust that it's not going to be, it's not going to be a break, but
no, it's going to be just real good, actually. Like, I can't see how they're going to screw it up. Like, I'll be honest. When I thought when I originally was, God damn it, I'm screwing everything up here. When Boba Fett originally, like, people were talking about him being in Mando, I thought that's a horrible idea, But I can fully admit I was dead wrong. I absolutely loved it and thought it made me really happy. Like, that was the highlight of Mandalorian for me in the second season.
Yeah.
So they can't mess it up,
Well, here's my thing. I don't think they can mess it up. My concern is that if they try to get too ambitious or too overzealous with tying in various aspects of the prequels or the OT, or using it as a platform. Like, Mando is well done in a way where they were able to introduce Ahsoka and then branch out to Ahsoka's own, platform or show. And then from there, Ahsoka will build on, and we'll see other characters and elements come into that and branch off. I just don't want them to go too ambitious with this, right? Yeah. Because this can really deliver and be something fantastic, or they can just kind of hit us over the head with it and have it be almost too much at once. And I don't think anybody's going to fault them for that. I think people will still enjoy it one way or the other nonetheless, but I just have a little bit of fear that they might throw a little bit, too much stuff in there, and it kind of pull you in too many different directions.
Well, I hope they don't. Like, I love when they put Easter eggs in. Okay, so there was a documentary, one of the documentaries after the final episode, where they showed you all the little Easter eggs, right, throughout the season, and for some reason the Easter eggs in Mandalorian actually worked, whereas I feel Easter eggs in like Rogue One didn't really work as well. Like, you had Ponda Baba and Dr. How do you pronounce that? Evrazar, like, showing up on Jeddah. It just kind of popped up. He was in your face. It
was forced. It was a little forced.
Very forced, yes. And I think Mando handled it without it being forced. But I can't tell you I won't squeal like a little girl if I see like Forlom, Zuckuss, Bosk. That's something I just am looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible, and I think as long as they do it right, I think it'll be enjoyable, and we get to see these characters in a different element. We get to see them in a different environment, because as we know them, they're just static characters. Based on the way their costuming and everything else was back at that time, we just saw them basically standing. Other than Boba, he was the only physical, dynamic character. The rest were just, in that moment, sort of kind of like standing like an a cappella group, they're not really doing much. You don't get to see Dengar in action. You don't get to see Bosk, wilding out outside of like canon of the comics. And it might be well, not might be, it would be fantastic to see them in live action form.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say in series 1 of Mando, we got to see Bosk's species in live action. So
they
we get
looked
to
very
see him
different,
specifically.
though.
They
They
did,
looked
but
very
you
different.
still get a different feel for the character in and of itself rather than somebody just standing there.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice the Gamorreans were in there too? The skinny Gamorreans.
Yeah.
I hope they give them a little bit more beef than the skinny
Atkins
Mandalorian.
Gamorreans.
Yeah, that I was like, oh no. But Hammerhead, they showed Hammer, like that species. That's one of my favorite species in all of Star Wars is the Hammerhead.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I like about this specifically, which got me, there's always something. Every person sees something that gives them the feels.
Mm-hmm.
And me being specifically a huge fan of Jedi and a Jedi collector. Sorry guys, I got a lot of work going on, so I'm gonna have my phone off. And
You're such a popular dude.
No, it's all work stuff.
Everybody wants a piece of you.
Yeah. You throw me off. But no, being a fan of Jedi and being a big collector of Jedi, I love that so much of the environment and so much of the time takes place, at Jabba's palace, Tatooine. They have that nice shot that pulls out and you see Jabba's palace from the outside, and I just like that, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of that, which there's been some discussion that we'll never see him on the throne again, other than that last shot of Mando.
Oh, he's using that at the head of the table.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be like the Don Corleone situation where, he's in that chair petting his cat and, controlling, everybody from that.
Did you notice when they said, when what's her name said, about dropping him in past Jabba's guys who go in against him down into his menagerie? And say I was expecting him to say rancor pit or something like that, but he said menagerie. What the heck? I bet we'll see something like, drop down. There'll be a whole bunch of different, not rancors, but other things down there, like killing people.
All kinds of denizens. Yeah.
I know, it'll be cool. I'll be honest. This is
cool
the
to
one
even
thing.
See them rocket around on skiffs too, just flying around Tatooine over the sand, over the desert. If Sarlacc makes an appearance, that would be fantastic. I mean, again, it's ambitious. There's a lot that, we've already seen Omar Monk, so there's a lot that's like, hey, here we are again, and that time frame fits. We ended Mando with Luke in his Jedi Knight fatigues, attire. I noticed though, I'm not sure, but so going back on some details of Luke, so so basically we're in that time frame, and that's what's important. So there's a lot that can be had, and it's already been discussed that in addition to the Obi-Wan series, we have Hayden coming back as Vader in the Ahsoka series. So all these timelines, fall within one another. So yeah, I think it's going to be a nice holiday
what else?
Season moving into the winter.
As these timelines go along, they're going to intersect. They're not just going to be completely separate all the time. You have comics where they have like this story going and that story going, and then they have a big crossover where they meet up at something like the Avengers, basically. They're kind of doing their own thing in their own movies, and then and they get together for a big movie or big get together, a big crossover or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing.
Death Star said, looking forward to seeing Max Rebo. And that's the thing. See, like, if they throw this stuff in there, right? It's one of those things where, how come they not come out? Oh,
because I'm pressing the same thing.
Sorry. That's the thing. So if we see something like that, it's not going to feel too forced, right? Because that's where they are. That's their.
Hold on, Max Rebo, he blew up on the sail barge.
Oh, that's right.
He was there.
Well, we don't know who technically. We don't know who. Oh,
he was on there.
Blew up. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on there.
Yeah.
Here's a James as another Boba Fett repaint to do. I actually really like it how it looks with the scratch across the eye. That I liked. I'm sure every episode it's going to be different. He's going to get more scratches, more dents, more, and then repaint it, and then it's going to be Boba Fett season 1, episode 5 helmet, episode 6 helmet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Disney's going to come out with every one of them.
What do you think? What do you think about this one? Lots of flashbacks coming, yeah.
At first, I thought that. Before we saw any of these videos, I thought that's possible because it was called the Book of Boba. But it almost sounds like he's trying to set up a crime syndicate.
Yeah, he's doing like a little Star Wars variation of Lucky Luciano, you know?
Mm-hmm. Here's a question for you, though. I was trying to remember today. I know Black Sun existed in the old books, the old EU books, okay, prior to Jedi, because it was Courtship of it wasn't Courtship of Princess, Shadows of the Empire, where Black Sun was in there. But is this like him starting up Black Sun? No, because Solo was part of Black Sun. Solo was way before this, and all right, yeah, that it already existed. So no, he's not setting it up.
I don't know. I mean, so you guys that are watching with us, guys in the comments, what are some of the thoughts? Like, just out of curiosity, hearing some feedback from what people think. Because there's a lot of.
What was the name of that organization that Maul worked for? It was Crimson
Dawn.
Dawn. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. Black Sun was in the comic books and books. Crimson Dawn is in Solo movie.
Yeah, I think IG-88 would be. I mean, again, we got another taste of his so-called, build. Not, I wouldn't say species, but his, build of droid. But I think, he's he's a bounty hunter. He's probably a lot more, malicious than IG-11 is. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they approach this.
Well, they have to bring these bounty hunters into it at some point. I mean, you're gonna see some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them.
Even if it's just fanfare and there's not a lot of heavy element in the story, they're gonna give us a taste. Yeah, they're definitely gonna give us that ooh ah moment. Just tickle our ribs a little bit. But no,
those are definitely some characters that are completely underused and very popular from Empire.
Like, well, that's why I was saying in Empire, they're literally just standing there. And it's not that there was a limit to the storyline, there was a limit to what they could do, costume-wise and resource-wise as far as giving those characters any more definition.
So the Collector, they definitely need some supporting actors in this. There was a Twilight girl, and that was Jennifer Beals. I saw that she was cast on today on Facebook somewhere, and then I watched the preview again and saw that she was one of the Twilight girls. She was like pinkish looking, so she's probably a reoccurring actress in it. Who will be the big bad?
I don't know. I mean, I think at this point he's going to be running the show, right? You think somebody new?
It's got to be new. I mean, look, if they brought in Gideon, he's brand new. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't have some of the bounty hunters, CC. It's gotta happen.
It's going to. It's going to. I mean, they can't make a show like this without that type of delivery.
No. And far from Death Star, Dengar must have his revenge for the crappiest of the bounty hunters at the time. His figure never sold that much as the others. That's true. Nobody really wanted that one.
Yeah, he wasn't aesthetically appealing. I get that.
No, he wasn't.
That bunchy, homeless sort of I found my gear in the street look.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's a little bit too.
I tell you, the one thing I'm not looking forward to seeing, and I don't say this in a bad way, but this show is going to do one way or the other, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm just not looking forward to everything Boba Fett like shooting through the roof, price wise that pre-exists, or everything product wise being produced, for the next 6 months being. I just don't want to see Boba Fett become the new Baby Yoda or Grogu, because that was just everywhere you looked, from silverware to underwear to toys to
He already is sold pretty highly.
Yeah, but this is different. That's due to, that infatuation with his overall aesthetic. Now that we're getting a little bit more acquainted with the actual character and his storyline, I think we're, potentially going to be bombarded merchandise wise.
I don't think Grogu was cutesy for all the kids and ladies. Boba Fett
Yeah,
you can't make into a plush doll, really. I mean, some, but not like.
dude, Boba Fett's only had what 20 minutes of screen time, give or take, all through all the movies, and
Yeah,
people
but
already
he's
have Boba Fett shrines.
yeah, but he's just as popular as Darth Vader is it? So even though he had small amount of short time, he's still as popular.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's my
Yeah.
point. Is that with that short amount of time, he's already popular. So now we're taking it to another level. What do you think people are gonna do? We're gonna see statues and figures and all these
Yeah.
variations, and
I'm gonna be broke.
yeah, we're
This
gonna have
is
Boba Fett fatigue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never really noticed this, but I've actually accumulated quite a Boba Fett collection over the years that I didn't realize I had until like I started putting until I got the Boba Fett helmet.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at things. I'm like, oh, I got this. I got this. I got that. I got this. Even like I buy all the old Hasbro ones. Like I have a Slave One that's in a see-through package where it's sitting in Bespin. It's really cool looking. I forgot I had it, but I've thought about putting together a Boba Shrine, but I don't know. Doesn't all that stuff together wouldn't look right.
No, I got a few Boba pieces lying around, but I'm trying not to part them all together.
Wow. Except for one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I pieced together the vintage with the hot toys.
Okay. Oh, you have it out?
Yeah, low and below. I got one of them packed up, one of them out.
Okay. Cool. So, any more questions in the group,
Yeah.
or we can start talking studio scale models or whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm just sitting in a hotel room, bored of my ass.
Yeah, and Chris just woke me up from my East Coast nap.
I
So I'm
thought for
ready to
sure I
roll.
wasn't waking you up.
No, I don't mind it.
Steve's busy tonight, family matters, and Matt said he might join in later. Cece said she'd join around later on tonight, but I don't know if we'll be on that late because Jason's already fallen asleep, and I've got to get up early tomorrow morning. So, but yeah, I'll tell you what. I hope to see a whole lot of Slave One in this thing.
Hey Dave, I saw your question up in the group. I just didn't want to answer publicly because it's more speculative than anything. Is there a chance that we may see before the holidays? Yes, but again, speculative. It all depends on other projects that are in the works. Best bet would just be hit them up directly via email, and they can give you sort of an ETA, a time window of month A to month B. Not like a 3 month time window, but they may say, hey, we're estimating a delivery day of January for the first batch. But keep that in mind, David. That it's all gonna that will be taken into consideration because they do these in batches. So I don't want to speak on behalf of Regal Robot or the team, Tom, etc. But they don't do all. Was it 77 edition 77 for those? They're not going to do all 77 at once. They're going to work their way through them, just like the Rancor started shipping in March, and I think the last of them shipped at the tail end of January. July rather, going into August. So you'll have like a 3 or 4 month time frame in which they start shipping and shipping. But yeah, shoot them an email. They'll be able to help you out.
Well, last time I was there, which was when I picked up the Salacious. Was that the last time? No, I went after that, didn't I? They had quite a few of them made, like a lot of pieces. They've been working on them pretty hard.
Yeah, they're cranking them out. They definitely. The thing is they always put the whole made in America thing, but you get to be surprised at how efficient they are. Although they're being all hand painted and done in house, they still do it sort of assembly style where each person who has this person who specifically has a strength in doing this part or doing that part, it'll make its way across this person's desk and onto that person's desk, and every fine detail gets scrutinized as it makes its way around. through each person. So they get a great setup for that stuff. So I can't see being too far, David. So, yeah. Matt asks, what models am I working on? So right now I am working on, I don't know how far I'm going to go with it, only because something else has sort of come in to take its place. But I was working on the ESP Chicken Walker. So I'm at the starting point with that. I started just sort of messing around with it. Me and Chris picked the kit up around the same time. It took a lot of cleaning, a lot of parts, just a lot of deep diving to sort of sort things out and figure things out. And then obviously one of the things that me and Chris have been doing is referencing and sort of IDing parts and trying to replace kit parts with actual parts. So I'm in that sort of area with that piece. So it's kind of like a side project. And on the flip side, I'm on the tail end of finishing up my gear tie, which it's pretty much almost done. I have one section that's limiting me, pieces that weren't included with the kit, and some other pieces that I decided to remove or take out or, basically drill off or whatever you want to call it and replace those with the actual found parts or kit parts. So I'm just waiting for a set of greeblies to go with this thing and I'll be able to mount it and sort of touch up some, light dusting and weathering. And yeah, so right now it's those two.
I didn't realize you started the Chicken Walker.
Yeah, so because I had cleaned it up a while back, remember?
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And then when the other one came into play, the stop motion one came into play, I started researching even more and learning more about it. And the more I deep dived and the more research I did, the more I got curious and I started laying out the pieces and figuring out what's what and what pieces can be replaced with actual kit parts. So I started doing that. And then now I just did some small assembly of small sections and an assembly of sections. But again, now that I have something so much more, I don't know, I guess top tier, an upgrade. I don't know if I'm gonna continue with it or if I'm just gonna offer the kit up to somebody at cost.
I haven't even touched mine. Mine's still in the bags and still wrapped up in tissue paper because, I worked on Slave 1, and then right now I'm working on an X-Wing Red 5, and I'm building the wings, and I didn't know anything about found parts or anything on that for that, or even specific details on color. For some reason, I can't. I have to focus on one ship at a time. If I you pretty much have a bigger, broader knowledge of different ships and different donor parts and stuff than I do. I like to pick a ship that I'm working on, focus on it, deep dive into it, and then after I'm done with it, as much as I could possibly know about, say, Slave 1 or the Sandcrawler or the Falcon.
Yeah.
Right now
once you get your hands dirty with a specific piece, that's when you tend to sort of go through front to back.
Yeah. I took my X-Wing kit, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, in my mind, when I first look at it, I'm like, my brain isn't wrapping where things are going. And then I started really getting involved in it. And now it's like, I'm hooked again. Remember I was going through that little bit of rut, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where I was like, I just don't feel like cleaning these parts up. And then now I'm starting to get back into the feels and okay, this wing has this little piece of styrene here, and this one has this little piece of this underneath and stuff like that. So it's cool. I'm having a lot of fun doing those wings because the kit I have has some, what do we call those? The little pieces of styrene that stick out on a model. They're already on the kit, and I'm sanding them off and replacing them with real.
Like the raised panels.
Yeah. And they're, it's kind of a broad general X-Wing. So by sanding those off and putting new ones on, I'm making it more, because each red designation, you wouldn't think so, but each wing has different styrene pieces on it. It's all
it's
over
not
the place.
mirrored. It's not. Yeah, you notice once you're working on it, you realize, oh, it's not mirrored. Yeah, you realize a lot of pieces aren't necessarily mirrored. You just assume, okay, right and left, right, like a car. Your right door, left door, they're two the same. But when you start working on these models, you start to realize, wow, this side's completely different than this side, or this gun or missile has, more detail than this one, or more parts than this one, and that's where I like to really get into it. And I think that's where, like you said, in certain aspects, when it comes to different ships, a broader knowledge on certain things is that's where like the intrigue and fascination comes in with
Oh yeah.
constantly like reading and looking up and and I think you've definitely gotten much deeper into that now with a lot of the back and forth we do, outside of the show where it's like, hey, look at this reference, check this out, look at this detail. I'll pop open some old books, take some pictures. Like, hey, I never noticed this before, and it really does make it that much more enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
And one other thing I'm working on, which I think a lot of us are, is ArchiveX. Is I keep saying, I think we both accidentally keep saying contest. It's not a contest, but they're
Yeah.
just everybody's sort of doing like a community build, a group build, sort of
I think
communal
it's
build.
more John is doing it and he's
Okay.
posting it on ArchiveX, kind of his. I think I may be completely wrong, but I think it's more his kind of group. Like, say, hey guys, let's do this. I haven't even touched my model yet. I just got it 2 days ago. Do you have one?
Yeah. I bought like 3 different ones just because I wasn't sure which one was the correct. Remember, we were kind of going back and
Mm-hmm.
forth as to like what was the exact. I mean, I know they're all give or take the same, but what was the exact one?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing I wanted to get down first. But yeah, I get everything sort of laid out and just pretty much ready to prep and go.
Well,
The great thing
I'm,
is the fact that it's a factory one. There's no cleaning. So,
no, there's no
well, very
cleaning.
little. I'm not going to be sitting there
Very,
for 3 days sitting
yeah.
and
It's put together by number, basically.
yeah.
It wouldn't.
So
It
it's
would
more
actually
more
be.
more getting to the fun part of painting.
It'd be more fun. Actually, it'd be smarter to do that model kit. So I figure out exactly how these garage kits get together for the X-wing. I didn't even think of that before, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm kind of a little hazy about exactly what we're doing in this thing. So the prop store auction, right, has that X-wing that is,
Yeah.
that was screen used. Okay, they used I thought it was an NPC kit, but it's a Ertl, right?
I
Um,
believe so, yes. And if anybody can correct us if we're wrong, because that was the issue I had, was I originally had the NPC kit, and then I think you would tell me it was either the AMT or the Ertl, and that's
right.
I bought it right after you had mentioned it.
So are
Um,
we painting this to look like that auction piece, or are we painting it kind of however we want and having fun with it? I don't quite understand
yeah, so
exactly.
I'm just pulling it up now. If you see me bopping away on my screen, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's the Empire one. Was the
No, it's the Ertl one for sure. It's the one with the clear
No, I'm
plastic
looking on. I
disc.
know. Just a couple of them have been auctioned off. I'm just looking for the
Oh,
right one
okay.
on Prop Store. They had done an ESP one as well, which they did the same thing. They used one of the off the shelf kits and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
did
I mean,
that.
it's
But
it's kind of a basic paint. It's not a whole lot of like a whole lot of different details on it because it's smaller, so you can't put a whole lot of details on it.
yeah, no, you can't. And that's the thing. I'm looking forward to. Yeah, the ESP one keeps coming, but I'm looking forward to doing the paint job on it and getting some lights in there and just getting it to be what it can be. I think it'll be a
God,
fun
it's gonna be
fun
so
build.
difficult to get lights in that little tiny kit.
Hey, this is everybody's gonna flex. This way, get to add some of your green and some of your grittiness and dirtiness, and scratch that thing up on the fuselage, and get to have some fun with this one. It's a
Anybody
great
else?
detail.
Anybody else in here do any kits? Anybody else here in the group do any modeling? That'd be cool. I'd like to know who does and who doesn't. James is doing Hasbro Tidarian. That's
Nice,
cool.
nice, fantastic.
So he's taking Hasbro vehicles and repainting them. I see a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and there's even some people that offer like upgrade pieces to some of those to
Yeah.
bring them a little bit more accurate. So, Chris, one thing I'm wondering though, I keep finding the ESB one and not the ROTJ one, but on the ESB one that was auctioned off last year or 2 years ago, they
Mm-hmm.
actually left obviously they just use it as like a background piece, but they left the for the window the model kit in. They didn't remove it. So that's interesting because, as we know, most model kits don't have the glass.
Isn't it painted black though?
No, this one is this one just has the window normal. You can see right into the cockpit. It's a little dirty, but yeah, I like how it's got some chipping and damage around the sides.
Can you bring it up, or I can't really bring
it
up?
Well, that's the ESB one. I don't know. I can't find the.
You want to share your screen and I'll bring it in?
No, I get my work stuff up that I need to keep up.
Okay.
I can't. I can't sign out, or I'll lose my work. Yeah. Let me go prop star. I can pop it over to you though. I don't know why it keeps giving me the ESB one. Well, let me go to the command.
So TL,
all right,
currently making a 6-inch multimedia Boba Fett in new armor, black robes. Been working on it for 9 months. So 6-inch figure we're talking about from Mando. Is that correct, TL? That's a new one. TL, I don't think we've seen your name. You come up on the show before. If that's so, thanks for joining us. Correction, they added Ertl partnership on the newer ones, but the old school 70s were just NPC.
Okay. Oh, okay. Nice. All right. Yeah, because the NPC was the first kit I had, and then I went and got the other one. Okay, so this one has the lights.
The NPC was the light blue old Star Wars logo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's small. This one's only about 12 inches, 13 inches in length, but it's got some nice overspray. I found that, Chris. Let me see. I can send you the link if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, just you can't share. I'm trying. I only have my
I can post it in the comments.
Okay, yeah, post in the comments. I'll bring it up. So here's a question from Kyle. Do you guys prefer Boba's OG look with the flight suit or the new black Tuscan robes? This might be sacrilegious, but I love the new black robes.
Yeah,
I do.
Gives a different. I don't know. It fits. It just fits. It gives a nice, interesting feel. Yeah.
Gives it like and his belt is like cowboy western kind of, kind of more modern than the old gray flight suit. Does look very 80s looking, right?
Yep.
So, and I don't know if you noticed, I was looking at those sites that were talking about all the variations in his costume. So before he had the robe underneath, and it was kind of like, wasn't it like half cut from one hip down to his other foot? This time, it looks like it's an actual comma, where like a snowtrooper like skirt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I didn't take notice of that, but speaking of snow speeder, somebody in the comments before asked me how my snow speeder suit is doing. See if I can find that. Let's see. It is right now. It's still in the box. I'm still waiting for 2 pieces, and here it is. Far from Death Star. How's the snowtrooper outfit, Chris? It's freaking awesome. I just am waiting for 2 pieces, like the duster, which is the shirt and the comma, and the pants. But I'll tell you what, the thing I noticed immediately about this thing, the boots. The boots are so freaking cool looking. How they have straps going around, how they're weathered, and just going through the pieces. That was my favorite part.
The boots besides the
besides the cod piece, that was the best part. But the boots, really, really cool. Thanks for asking. So anybody else? Which one does everybody else prefer? The OG look or the black Tuscan robes? I know Steve hates the black Tuscan robes. I know he does.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay.
he hates new Boba. He doesn't like it at all.
Hmm.
I love it.
I wonder why.
Because it's not a bikini chick. That's why he doesn't like that.
Yeah, that's true. He likes some rough, rugged, and raw, right?
Yeah, he does. What are you looking for still?
I was just looking at the details and images of the auction lot. It's I like the dusting and the overspray. So the ESB had the window left in, and the ROTJ had the window removed,
Yeah.
had it taken out.
Well,
But,
like I said, what I'm not completely clear on.
I did send it in the private chat link.
I don't know how I'm gonna bring it up.
Because they even if you do get a chance to bring it up, one thing that's interesting is right at the tip of the nose, right? They even created like a bespoke nose, and to sort of mimic the other one where you can like lift it up and access the wires for lighting or potentially pyro. I mean, I don't know. It looks like mostly
Where'd you
lighting.
send it, Jackson? Where'd you send it to?
In the private chat.
In ours or no? I don't have
No,
it yet.
yeah, and on the stream.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, if you go on the right side, go down to private chat.
Oh, our private chat. Okay, all right.
Our private chat. Yep. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm still working with half a not my usual setup. So
Grab a drink. I'll be right back, Chris.
No, don't leave me.
No, I'm just grabbing a drink.
Okay. Well, I've been drinking the whole time. So let's see. Share screen, window. This one, share. There we go. Okay. So what are you showing me here? Okay. So this is the prop store auction, Jason? Yeah. No. Okay. Now this is supposed to be red 5. Okay, yeah, it is. I haven't even really looked at the nose yet. I did like this is blue here, and this red is broken up. See, it looks different on different models.
What did you say, Chris?
I'm just looking at different colors. I really like this, how it looks.
Yeah, so if you look too at the nose, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Is
kind
the
of cool.
nose blue right here?
Yeah, so it's blue because what they did was they made a bespoke nose, like a custom nose.
Okay.
And they did it in order to feed what's it called? The wires for lighting, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and I was looking at this picture here, and I never noticed that the red was broken up like this on the side here. That was a new one to me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you go down to that little nose, it's a little flap that they at the very tip, the blue, that's a little flap that they used to open and access the wires, which you'll see as we flip through. But this got a heavy dusting and weathering on it, huh?
Oh, it sure does. It's really dusted.
When you see the close-in images, the images that bring it in closer, you'll see how heavy they dusted it, but it looks good. It's got like a nice mist on it.
This is missing some of the greens that are in it, and so what's this?
Looks like one of the back tail cannons that may have come out. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Oh, one of these maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think there's like there's over here there's like a candy cane.
The blue twist.
Yeah, well
on the twist,
so on the studio scale size one, on this one, all 4 of the guns have the candy cane twist, but on the studio scale one, only 2 of them, catty cornered, have the candy cane. And then there were on the wing, inside the wing here, there was like a square pattern. There you go.
Right there. So isn't that great how they did that?
Yeah.
I might even try to mimic that just for the fun of it.
Yeah, it's not a
Not
bad idea.
working, but just have it. Yeah, just
For
a
the little
sport.
contest.
Yeah, just a sport. Just have fun.
But here you can see the dusting.
That's what I was gonna say. When you get the close up,
Yeah.
you get a really nice look at the dusting overall, which is a really nice like speckle tone.
Man, they use that grime color for everything and on every model. It's like a
Well,
miracle.
remember we talked about recently about something that we felt was missing.
Yep.
That's what dulls down certain things. Instead of
Yep.
making a red like bright red and punchy, it's just red.
Yep.
But also makes it look more natural.
Yeah. And it brings all the colors together. Like it, instead of your eyes being picking up the real bright colors, it kind of makes it all blend as one, and your eye sees the entire model instead of just individual colors.
It does. It definitely ties it together. So if you look at the very tips of the cannons, you'll see like the yellow tones right behind the cockpit. You see the yellow tones.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of these standing out individually and being too punchy, yeah, you're right. It allows it to sort of blend a little bit more seamlessly. Sometimes almost not being able to notice certain colors.
Oh yeah, it makes figure out these colors very difficult because this grime hides it kind of almost.
Look how clean cut some of the go right back. Look how some of those boxes of color how neat they are. You know, they just like put something straight there and just sprayed and
So when you're doing models and you're trying to find reference pictures, it's kind of difficult sometimes to tell which model you're looking at. Like say, somebody might find this and say, all right, I want to paint it like this. This isn't the 124 scale, so, and then the 124 scale might have different colors on it at different spots, which I know it does because I've been looking at them nonstop for the last couple of days. But like, there's like a green patch here, okay, and then there's
well, yeah. If you look at the ESV version, there's a lot of green. The
there's
whole strip down
yellow.
the front is green.
The whole strip down the front here is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But this thing, what did they say the estimate was going to be for this?
Oh, it's high. It's upwards of what's it? Let me see. I got it open right here. It's some crazy amount, man.
Wow.
Estimates 200 to 300,000 pounds. So we're talking about maybe 425 to 400,
Jesus
$500,000 all in once you pay the what's it called? Premium.
So back here was.
I mean, one of the pieces I just got recently, the premium alone was a couple thousand, and it wasn't even an expensive piece.
So
by
this
any
is
means.
12 and a half inches, 13 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, that's
a hot toy tops, yeah.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. You think I don't know. You think it's going to sell for that? Like, see, okay, so this is all just black here. There's no pilot or anything in there.
Yeah, I think the ships, whenever you start getting into ships or hills, okay, when you think of Star Wars, the characters are one thing for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the costumes were done in such a unique way. They were used so many for myriad of different purposes, whether it was like promotional stuff or, this was cast, this was recast, this, that, the other. A ship is a ship is a ship, a hilt is a hilt, right?
Right.
If it's the real McCoy, that's that, right? Star Wars is lightsabers and beautiful ships. And if you have something this intact, despite the fact that it isn't true studio scale, I mean, can you imagine one of these in 1/18 form? That'd be $1 million ship, right? But those ones are also susceptible to a lot more damage because a lot more handling took place. These are smaller, easier to handle, easy to travel with. If they put them on tour, if they did those, behind, Star Wars behind the scenes or Star Wars sci-fi tours, they're a lot easier to handle, so they weren't as susceptible to damage. So when you come across these pieces intact like this, and they were on screen, I mean, yeah, I think it's going to fetch it. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go through the roof. It might float around the reserve price, but I definitely think it's going to sell.
So, okay, so I go back to my original question before was this fun group contest / thing we're doing on ArchiveX and John Simmons. Are we making it look like this, or are we kind of making it look like this but taking our own take on it? I don't really understand what we're doing there.
I'm gathering. All right, similar to what we talked about earlier today when we had looked at recently Lee Ralph's Return of the Jedi version of the Y-Wing. Okay, so his inspiration for that, at least paint scheme wise, was to match the one that was in the prop store auction. And of course, he did it verbatim because his talent is, his paint skills are next level. Not to demean what we can do, but getting every exacting detail is, it's a tedious task. But I think it's to be similar. I think it's to, assemble the kit and match it basically as you see here, because the interesting thing, unlike the 124s and the 118 that were pretty much scratch built or made for donor kits, when you got to Return of the Jedi, manufacturers were already producing these, for consumers to buy and build, and they were like, hey, let's, for time and cost purposes, let's just take some off-the-shelf kits for background ships, make a fleet of X-wings, and throw them in there for the scene. So the idea behind
building from scratch.
Yeah. So the idea behind this communal build is to say, well, why pay $250,000 when you can just put your skills to the test and basically make, for displayability purposes, one of these for yourself. So if you can get most of this weathering and detailing matched pretty closely, which these are great reference pictures, and once you blow them up, you have all the details and reference you need. There you go. You're out of pocket, a couple $100 tops. You just saved yourself $300,000.
I also think that part of the reason why this is in such good shape is it was from Jedi. So by that time, they were starting to really like save this shit and pack it up and keep it ready for display and for future use or anything like that. So
and they weren't reusing stuff, Chris. So they weren't breaking pieces down to reuse it elsewhere. So like early on in A New Hope, even in ESP, everybody's like, oh, by the time ESP came out, Star Wars was such a success. But you have to keep in mind that George was still funding that out of pocket. Yeah. So everywhere that they could cut corners finance-wise and reuse something, like if they were like, hey, we got this pink cup, right? What can we reuse it for? We'll reuse it for this. So that was no longer Prop A, it became Prop B. Okay, perfect example, the Snowtrooper Commando kit that we're doing with RS. Okay, so how did that last? Why this? Why that? How? The reason why it is such an amazing piece in and of its own is because usually things like that didn't last or get cast. If that was meant to be something else, and they would take that clay, break it down, use it, and remold it. They didn't just say, hey, let's take $150 worth of clay and toss it out. No, they reused it.
Yeah, they reused it.
Yeah, so by the time Jedi came around, they started saving pieces for reference, keeping pieces intact. There was no movies coming after that point, at least not that they thought of. So there was no need to break things down and reuse them and park them out. So yeah.
Well, plus, oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that.
It's a beautiful example, though.
It really is. It's actually really gorgeous. And like what you were saying about reusing parts, they even reused Red 5, the body for Red 5 or something, because as far as I know, the only thing that's left are the wings, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And the armature. The armature is still together, right?
Yeah. I think we were over talking, Matthew. So what do we mean by premium?
You were talking about the premium on top of the auction.
Oh, okay. So Matthew, let's say, for example, bidding goes live and this ends at £325,000. In addition to that, you have both the buyer and seller have to pay what's called a premium. So the seller, when the item sells, you have your fees, but you also have the seller's premium and then you have the buyer's premium. So if this sells for £325,000, there's also 25%. I think prop store is across the board 25% on most things. So it's 25% tacked onto that. So 25% of the purchase price gets tacked onto that after the fact, which can be, when you're talking about $250,000, 25% is all due respect, a kick in the nuts. Like I said, I recently bought a piece that was just, it was pennies in a pond compared to this. It was pittance, and the premium alone was a couple $1,000s. So this just scares me, And that's one thing that a lot of people who are new to auctioning, that's something they'll take into consideration because it's fine print. Our auction houses, you have to go through a process to be approved for bidding. You don't just sign up and throw a bid out there. I mean, they need to make sure that you're serious and that you're going to follow through. And it's this whole, like, you can't go on a podcast and be like, oh, so-and-so is just kicking tires and talking shit. Like, no, it's a process. You get financially vetted, personally vetted, because, they can't waste people's time. Things do sometimes happen, whether it's provenance, damage issues, things like that. But lo and behold, just some of the premiums on these things, the auction houses assume that most people are seasoned buyers through auctions, and that's not necessarily true. My first time buying anything from auction was just as little as I think 6 or 7 years ago, and I remember the shock when I was told, "Oh, it's not this much; it's this much," and I was sort of argumentative until I saw, the writing and fine print, and that was my fault for not going through all the contractual terms and agreements before placing the bids. But it's holy crap is right. For sure.
So Benjamin, we kind of decided earlier to do a show, but I finally thought I put it up in the group, but I actually put it in Archive X's group by accident. So we jumped on 15 minutes before and decided to do a show. So ta-da, here we are. But
talking shop.
Yeah, like this is also here something you don't see a lot of is the bottom. Okay. It's difficult to find pictures of the bottom of any ship. I mean, even Slave One. Like I could only find a couple of pictures of Slave One's bottom. Red 5 is tough to find, especially this. So this is a really cool picture to use for reference.
Me and Chris love that pinch and zoom, huh? Pinch and zoom. Yeah. Make it as big as you can.
Oh, I love that. It's freaking awesome. I look at it. I've been looking at it almost every night. So honestly, Jason, I would still probably buy the book if I could find it at a decent price.
Yeah, but pinching and zooming is priceless.
Yes. The only thing about
even this, even these reference images. It's being able to enlarge this.
Yeah. But
I didn't mean to cut you. What were you saying?
No, it's just I know the X-Wings were really heavily weathered for the movie. For the props were really heavily weathered for the movie. I don't like them too heavily weathered. Like this is borderline for me. Like this is heavily weathered.
That's a fine line. You're right, especially near the engines and in the back.
Like
ends.
The back, especially, you can't see anything but soot on the back.
Yeah, and this isn't a Dagobah crash. I mean, you gotta be,
See, look at that. That's really dark. I want to see some of the cool effects and some of the cool different colors and different shades. But I guess we're gonna make it a lot like this. I might try it to make it this dark just to see how it looks.
Go that way. So doing this, I actually got the idea. Max Shepley was posting the pods. I think they're now in Christian's collection, where he took the electrical cords that were coming out of the model, and they were sort of wrapped so they could be put on display because they were pretty long. So they took the cords and kind of wrapped them, but they left them, visible.
Let's see if I can find it.
I forgot I reposted it. It might be on the Sci-Fi Studio scale models, or on the Max's page himself. But I thought it was interesting, and I was like, oh, everybody. We saw the tags. Me and you talked about even some of the scannable ones, the barcode labels that are on some of the ILM models, and those are all interesting. But I like the idea of seeing, pieces that are accessible. It's not just exposed wire, but you could see the actual custom-made nose tip that like this will lift up and give us access to this. And so that's why I want to try that, because I really like the idea of it, and I just think it's a good look. And I've been doing that with my RS Boba helmet, which is I've been doing all the older original parts, pieces, and wires that were exposed.
So here they are. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. So they're not on this. He had a different one. I don't know if it actually got put on this, but if you go to Max's page and scroll, you'll see he had a picture of it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it might be further down. Either that or on the Sci-Fi Studio scale. No, just go to Max. If you just see, yeah.
Yeah, I was on Max's. Oh, so I go to Sci-Fi Studio Scales?
Yeah, you can go there. So if you go down a little bit more, that looks really good.
Yeah,
That looks really good.
it does actually.
And that'll be a fun piece.
Pretty close.
Pieces
I
like
like
that are
when
tricky to display though, unless you have like a whole diorama going on.
I really like when, like, say like this, you could see the original and compare it to the new one, to the made one, and see it shows
Yeah.
how good they really did. I don't see it. This is going back pretty far. October 18th. Oh, no, wait, there it is.
There you go, right there.
Ah,
Yeah, so see what he did? How he put the tag
yeah,
on and he put the electrical cords. So I
yeah.
like the way that looked when I saw that. And then when I saw the X-Wing, I was like, oh, I think it's interesting. Why
Yeah.
not add that in for a little bit of, just a little bit extra fun and aesthetic.
I think it's cool, but it's not something I would do.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
you dig
it's
those things like that, and like tags and stuff. I think that tag is cool, but I really like that, and I would have never thought to do that. And
the barcode or the tag.
the tag,
Okay, so
I think,
I'm definitely adding the barcode to the chicken walker.
okay, yeah, you know what? It's a real problem. I have so many models I want to do. Like, I want to do this. I want to do this in the 124 scale. Um, we talked about a couple models that I want to do today. I want to do the cloud car. I want to do this one up here. No, wasn't Max Replica didn't do it. It was this one. No, he did an escape pod. So I was talking to here's a perfect example. I was talking to Costa today and telling him about the different colors on the escape pod, and a lot of people don't know that there's quite
A little bit going on, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot going on it. There's rust, and here's some yellow and gray, and on the
No,
bottom
but
you have the yellow cables and stuff.
I
This
don't know where
isn't
it was,
the
Chris.
this isn't the actual prop, but it's painted like the
Pretty
prop.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where it was, but somebody had recreated the actual drop scene. You know, where the pod, like, oh sir, there's no life forms, and they
Yeah.
show it like releasing. Somebody had created the piece where the pod was releasing from, and I thought that was a nice touch.
I'll be honest, I didn't realize there was this many variations in the color scheme for this thing. And it wasn't something I was terribly interested in until I saw pictures like this. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. It's something I might eventually want to do, because I don't want to just do boring shit. I want to do stuff that has some color and some different variations.
The back of it, when I first saw the top with the four engines and
Hmm.
the wiring, for some reason that initially when I wasn't that interested in it caught my attention, and that's what sort of grew on me. Yeah, that little area there is
Yeah.
what grew on me, and I was like, oh, I can definitely see myself displaying this piece.
Yeah. And
But
most people do display it with the bottom up, so you can see all that cool stuff. I know John Simmons did one, and the bottom was like, oh, just oh.
yeah, the one thing I really enjoy is, and we've talked about this, I wouldn't say ad nauseum, but quite a bit, is I'm really liking as you start going across the board with different kits, just how many parts are on this ship and that ship and that ship that all share the same donor kit.
Oh yeah.
And I'm finding that to be a lot of fun because, as you know, I've been finding these sort of really outside the box, hobby shops in the middle of like nowhere, sort of in the middle of the state, 2 hours outside the city, and they have all these old kits. I mean, you're literally picking these boxes up and like blowing the dust off, and they're from like the 80s, and they're all
Yeah.
like, "Hey, there's this kit. Here's the Panther. Here's the Subaru. Here's the Harrier. Here's the this," and I'm like, "Wow!" Like they're all readily available in my hand to touch, and
Yeah.
being able to match the pieces and grab some of those kits has been a lot of fun.
Oh, good. We got some webcam girls stuff going on right now.
Nice. How you doing?
Sweet. You got those?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of shared parts. I actually have plans to scratch build a piece, and it's a concept piece, so kind of like at liberty to do as I want. So I plan on adding a lot of those pieces, those donor kit pieces that are shared, you know, on Slave One, on the AT-AT, on the Pro Droid, and just kind of to like bring it more into the Star Wars world. So there's some recognizable shapes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially the piece from the Harrier, which is on the Sandcrawlers on Slave One, the AT-AT. Trying to remember what else is on. There's a list on this one site. I keep meaning to look, but I never find it.
Hey, Chris, not to interrupt real quick. I think we might have been both simultaneously clicking the web girls.
I was not.
Oh, we weren't. Okay.
I
So
wasn't.
I think it popped up double, and I
It
may
did.
have accidentally blocked Brian.
Oh,
So
can you unblock him?
Brian Shaw, I don't know. So Brian Shaw, if you're still watching, that was accidental, man. Definitely not intentional. We were just trying to get ahead of the bots, because
I know
sometimes if you
there's
don't
a.
get them quick, they hit hard.
I know there's a way we can fix that. I've seen it before. We'll figure it out later. He just won't be
Yeah,
able to post. He won't be able to comment
but I think
until
if
we
he's, I
figure it
think
out.
he's, yeah, I think he can still hear us. I mean, he still watch it. Just don't think he can post. But yeah, Brian, that was accidental, man.
Sorry, brother. I don't know. Maybe we should put some webcam girls on. Get more views.
Yeah, far from Death Star. CC is she's our gunner for sure.
CC, yeah, she's on it. She does it quick before we even get it. She's great. She takes care of all that stuff so we can just talk and have a good time. She's like our.
And she does a great job too.
She does. Yeah.
I knew she was on her A game that time. I was coming from work, right? I had that show that I was engineering at, and I had signed in. You guys are on, and I was leaving messages, and she's this close and blocking me, like just in tandem, like boom boom, hit me up private message, like, is this you? Yes, it's you. Okay, I was just about to block you, shut you down. Boom, boom. I was like, oh.
Well, she's on her keyboard typing click 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 click, click as we're talking.
Oh, you ain't kidding with those clicks, huh?
Yeah, we gotta throw in and get her
A
a
silent
keyboard for
keyboard. That's
Christmas.
gonna be
Yeah.
your Christmas gift. A Rogue
Yeah.
One 6 silent keyboard.
Yeah.
Let's all tease Brian since he can't defend himself.
I know there's a way. I just gotta figure out how to
Stop
do it.
ripping on him. Oh well, it's only temporary. It's only a temporary block because he's not banned. He's not like the ban is a permanent, but the block
That's
is just
true.
temporary.
Okay.
It might lift in like 15 minutes, or it just might when the show's over. But yeah, hang with us, Brian. We still love you, brother.
You know, Jason, I'll tell you something. I'm finding myself wanting too many kits to actually have time to do all these kits. But I've kind of come to the conclusion that I got to get them now while they're available.
Yeah, well,
Because
the
they're
getting's
not.
good for sure.
Yeah, they're not always available, and sometimes they're very hard to get. Like there's a Y-wing and a B-wing I've been trying to get for like 9 months now from somebody, and I keep trying to get it, but he keeps saying he's going to do it, but I'm just waiting.
And which one's that, Chris?
The Y-wing and the B-wing.
Sure. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to get those for a little while now. You have the B-wing, right?
I do.
Yeah, maybe you can sell me yours.
No.
Screw it. We'll just recast it. That's what you do anyway. So.
Oh, that's
That's
all
your
I do
side
all day,
flip.
man. My hands are killing me today.
Oh, no.
All that machine chop.
Yeah.
Both those.
Getting tired, brother?
No, I'm chilling. Get my
good.
second wind.
Yeah, good. I'm not ready for bed yet. I got to get up at like 5 a.m., but I don't feel like going to bed yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about those hills I just started now talking about.
Yeah, can you?
Machine chops.
Do you want to show them or no?
I'll show one. I got a couple, but I'll show this one here.
Yeah. Show us your stuff.
I don't know why.
I could show you my bath towel from my bathroom if you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So show us what you got. And
All right.
let me solo layout. Ooh,
So
white
this is
gloves and everything.
the white gloves and everything, brother. Gotta keep
Mm.
the weathering pristine. This is the Gary Kurtz Vader hilt. So this, if I am correct, is primarily composed of a lot of the original bits. Even this, although this looked a little off. I was counting the notches on the PCB board here, but I was told and was confirmed that it is the original bit. This is an actual, what would that be, an aluminum body? Steel body?
Probably it's
You
gotta
have
be aluminum
shroud.
because that'd be really heavy if it was steel.
Yeah, this actually, it's got the,
Jesus. They're back.
they're back,
I'll
CC.
get it. I'll get it. Just keep
Your only
talking.
hope.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
So yeah, I believe this is was this the Return of the Jedi hilts? This may have been the ESB, but I actually got a couple of them in today, and I'm going back over the reference and the detail. But yeah, this thing is fantastic because, like I said, it's made of all the original um,
Found parts?
parts to mimic, to mimic and the detail on it, especially like the cut here, you can see in the seam,
Mm-hmm.
this hair, and then even the differences. So you look here, you have the full opening, right?
Take it back a little bit. It's a little fuzzy. There you go.
Okay, so you get this hair, and then as you roll it over, you see how it differs, and that they got that pretty,
Mm-hmm.
And I might post this up on the board. I mean, you guys know I don't show a lot of my collection publicly, but I could show the original versus this, and I mean, it's spot on, which is fantastic. And you can't see it on camera. I don't know why, but there's actually quite a bit of wear and tear and weathering to it, which is
Yeah, you
interesting.
can't see it at all.
Yeah, which it's actually quite a bit. Then there was this interesting one, which is one of the stunt ones. This one's actually pretty cool as well. Again, this is all, but this is hollow underneath, unlike the other. And then it's got the rod. And it's got the original screw set as well.
Beauty.
And then same thing here. So this was made for, practice dueling.
So you got those at Disney parks, right?
I got these at Disney parks. Yep. I did. $49.99. 20% off. This one I'm just going to give a quick glimpse, but I'm not going to get into the detail, Chris, so you know why. But just give a quick peek, and then we can see back.
That's the beauty.
Yeah, it's actually
gorgeous.
That's cool. Huh? Look at that. And it's actually, it's got the
spring load.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a fantastic piece. This one I really, really like for a lot of reasons.
Hide it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I'll be over to pick it up later.
And then get a few, I got 2 more stunt hilts coming in. I think this week, the ones we talked about earlier. And, you guys will see them. I may or may not post them to the group. I don't know.
So what's your favorite hilt in all of Star Wars?
I actually like, first, as far as aesthetic goes, I like the Luke V2 stunt.
Okay.
Or the Hero's just as good. I know everybody hems and haws of the Obi-Wan because of the work of art that it was. The fact that they were able to take these random bits and just make them all piece together. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful hilt, and I think from a build perspective, that's one of my favorites. But just aesthetically, I don't know why, but I really just enjoy the Luke. The Luke V2. Like right now, I have one of the stunts, the Parks Yuma, and the MR Signature Edition all next to each other, and it just displays nicely. I really like.
Do you have a shelf of hilts over there?
Yeah. So behind me here, there's a whole bunch of pieces. Some of the signature hilts, believe it or not, though, I think.
Can you turn the camera, or you don't want to?
You know me, man. I'm a pro. I get a lot of other pieces over there that I don't want to put out there. But I hope that doesn't come across the wrong way to people in the chat. No. But some of these signature edition hilts, I may be part of them.
let me just say something, Jason. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't understand something. Okay. There are collectors who have insane collections, okay, of things that nobody knows about. And they're called black hole collections. You have stuff like screen use pieces that are complete, that everybody thinks are completely destroyed or gone for good. And they're actually on somebody's shelf that nobody wants to show. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of them, especially in like vintage collecting. I've heard of a few of the black hole collections, like the Kit Bash Boba Fett, the 3 3/4, the Kit Bash Boba Fett that you see on the back of all of the Star Wars 20 backs.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody has that on their shelf, hidden, and everybody thinks it's destroyed
Yes.
or gone. But somebody has that for sure.
And there's a reason for that. There's a
Yes.
reason for that.
Yes.
Where I start walking into that gray area is, me and you, I think out of the four of us have been collecting the longest. You're about 30 years in, I'm about 20 years in, and I'd say about 21 now as we get older. So, along that time, what also happens is you start to build relationships and network with people where you get to access things that, they don't necessarily want out there publicly.
Mhm.
That's one of it. Another thing is, believe it or not, this happens a lot, but you showcase certain things and people will just start hitting you up privately like, hey, do you want to sell that? Do you want to sell that? And you can say, this is not for sale. It doesn't matter. And
Oh, no,
people, if they want something bad enough, and you don't want to be that guy who has to like tell people no. It's just an uncomfortable, awkward feeling.
yeah.
And it's weird because it puts me in this odd position where, Chris, as you know personally, I have a lot of very unique one-off things or pieces that I've acquired in ways that are either, via auction or through somebody who has, made a one-off or sold a one-off piece and asked, not to, and for it not to be posted publicly, out of respect for their wishes, I do that. But now it's become this thing where with only a select group of people, but very small select group of people, and I don't even want to go there. I want to tread cautiously with this, but it's become one of those things where it's like, oh, well, if you're not showing it, you don't really have it. Which isn't the case. And, I don't owe anybody an explanation, nor do I feel like I have to defend myself.
Jason.
I just didn't want to come across as rude when you're like, hey, do you want to turn your camera? I didn't want anybody to feel like I was being
I completely understand. Because, I have things that I've been told, don't share this,
Yeah,
don't.
of course, yeah.
It's not for people can't get it. It's just you can't show it. You have to keep it quiet. It's for your own personal enjoyment, and hey, it is what it is, brother. That's how it is.
I mean, and not everything's like that. Like on this particular shelf, I have some really rare, unique pieces that have probably never been seen by the public before. But then mixed in with that, I have not a bunch of, but a handful of like MR stuff and a couple of hot toys, and just in this particular shelf alone. And that stuff is a dime a dozen. I mean, everybody's got that type of stuff, but it's just crossing those. I mean, right now, like I got something literally sitting behind me. There's three in existence, and it wasn't even supposed to be made, but they made it. They made it on the down low, and I was able to acquire one thanks to a good friend who's always looking out for me. And I was specifically asked, please don't show that publicly. As much as I would love to, I mean, you guys have seen it, but as much as I'd love to, I don't.
I think Benjamin's talking about me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Robin, we love sharing it, and I love hearing about cool things that I didn't know about either. So, yeah, it's fun, but also some people just gotta understand that it's just, I don't know how to put it. There's some things that are just private. That's all. So,
Yeah.
You want to sell the white glove?
Hey, it's got my sweat in it, so it just went up 10%. Buyer's premium.
I'm sure that's not the only thing that's in it, Jason.
I don't know. There's a little white stain on it. I don't know.
How many pairs of those you got?
A bunch, because I handle a lot of artwork. So, yeah.
I don't think I have.
I always have them on. I always have them on tap when I pull something up.
I do have one. It came with. You know what it came with? That Nissan Range Trooper that I got. It actually came with
fingerprint magnet. Yeah,
like it's right. a matte white. I could see the Death Trooper one. Okay, Like they made a Death Trooper one, they made Executioner, and they made the Range
And
Trooper.
the range. Yeah.
And the Death Trooper probably gets fingerprints all the time. But that Range Trooper, it's just funny how I got that too. Like that's a hard one to find. Not a lot of people. How many is there? 50?
100 of the, so there's 400 Death Troopers, 100 range, and 100 executioners.
Okay. I thought that was less. All right. Well, it's funny how I got mine because I put it on a search on eBay for a long time, and I was looking online just in like on the 5th or 6th page of Google trying to find it for sale. So it comes up as on Letgo. Okay. The old Letgo app. I think it changed to something else, didn't it?
I don't remember what it is, but I remember at the time. You took a big risk. Guy gave you a great deal, but you had to send it. You had to send it. Well,
it wasn't a big
risk.
risk.
To get into that a little though, it wasn't as big of a risk because this whole me and Matt had this conversation the other day, and I don't want to tangent off and take away from you, but this whole thing where like all of a sudden everybody who's buying something on somebody, it's like scammer. It's like I think people are just too excitable and too overzealous to call somebody out. Yeah. But no, I think the way there was a little bit of there was a little risk involved there.
I contacted the guy. I contacted the guy and I'm like, hey, do you still have this? And he says, yeah, I still have it. I said, well, can I send you money? I really want it. So he's like, I only take check by mail. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you living in the 20th century or what here? Like, you only take check? So
and by mail,
yes. So I'm like, nah, screw that. I ain't doing that. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, all right, well, do I take the chance or not? So I was talking to my son about it. He's always like, do it. So I freaking sent
worse than us.
He's terrible. So I sent a bank check, right? That, it's not really exactly traceable, but it's a little more traceable than just sending a personal check, right? So
there's also an amount that we knew where if you took the hit, would it suck? Yeah, but what were you are you gonna cry over it? It was an affordable risk.
Yes, it was affordable risk, and if it paid off, it would have been worth it. Luckily, it paid off. The guy sent it to me, and it's freaking beautiful. So, yeah, sometimes you just got that thing
in. You got that thing in. You're like, "Dang, but it actually came."
I was surprised. I really was. It must have just been an older guy who doesn't. He sounded like an older guy when I talked to him. The way he talked, the way he typed, what he said. So I figured he was an older guy. So, some of the older generation, they don't use all this PayPal and
it's sketchy to them. The electronic stuff. They think that Big Brother's watching and stealing all their info.
It worked though.
The guy probably still has a landline, so that tells you something.
Well, I did see pictures. He had like some weird country like sheets and stuff. He had it sitting on. It was just weird how he actually had this thing because he bought the car, came with it.
Yeah.
So, well, I can't believe 24 people are actually listening to our boring rant.
No, it's Monday night. We're just hanging out, talking shop, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't think I would be out tonight. My all of a sudden yesterday, I'm like, I got to work in New York, and like screw it, I'll just stay overnight and do a show. And I thought Matt might join us later, but I guess he's not. Bastard.
Yeah, I don't think Matt is on. I don't think Matt's popping on.
So we can talk more studio scale.
Oh, love it. Yeah. There's a lot going on in studio scale right now. I mean, there's a lot happening. Merlin Models, they're at the tail end of the AT-AT. So if you haven't gotten the AT-AT, there's like, I didn't get a chance to. I told Ethan I would, but I didn't get a chance to. But I know that they're down to like maybe 10 kids, roughly.
Yeah, but they're extending it one more week.
Yeah, but still, you're down to like the last handful of kids. Yep. So anybody looking to jump on that, I mean, it's a price you can't beat.
Plus, I thought today was the last day you could get the upgraded base. I'm not sure. Did they extend that too? I wonder. I'm not 100% sure about that.
I don't know. I don't want to quote because I didn't. I had a busy day. I didn't catch all the details. I'll probably watch it when I jump off tonight. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
It is really entertaining hearing you degenerates jump from topic to topic.
Yeah, why not?
This is how we talk on the phone during the day.
Yeah, so you're getting B-roll here, you're getting behind the scenes. But
Yeah, this
you
is
know, then they get the Tantive. That's
yeah,
up and running. So that's another
yeah.
one. I think quite a few people are starting to jump on that now.
I'm still I like it and I really would get it, but if I didn't have 5 other freaking model kits I wanted to buy, I don't know. I still have time. So I still have time to get it. Um, it'll probably be one of those things where I don't get and then I'll regret it later,
Yeah.
you know? So I don't know. I should probably just get it, stick it aside, and one day I'll paint it up when I have a room or somebody wants me to paint it for them, you know? So
Well, there's a kit we're jumping on tomorrow, right?
hopefully. I think so.
Hopefully. Well, I'm going to. I'm definitely going to.
Yeah, I
For
think
sure.
so. I gotta
Yeah.
call them. And you know, there's right now there seems to be a lot of kits available, surprisingly. Whereas remember 6 months ago we
Which
were
usually,
talking
yeah, usually you're pulling teeth.
yeah, 6 months ago we were scratching our heads trying to figure out where we're gonna find Y wings and X wings and B wings. And it seems like a lot of people are starting to make more kits now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But with that being said, and I get nothing against this. However, there's a lot of, technology coming in nowadays. People are using photogrammetry, they're 3D scanning, they're taking, 148 or 172 size kits and blowing them up into 124 size kits, which is nothing wrong with that. But I think there's a bevy of kits available now. But there's also a lot of competition. So you really have
Mhm.
to weed out and decide, you know, it's such a catch-22 because there's something to say about the old school garage kits that you can do the found parts, the donor kits, and ID it and go through all the muck and grime and elbow grease and blood, sweat, and tears to get it going to where it is. But then on the flip side of that, it's amazing what someone like Merlin Models is doing, where you can get something like an AT-AT, which is almost similar to going to an actual store, pulling a kit off the shelf, opening it out of a box, and piecing it together. Like
Mhm.
we've never had that before, really. I mean, technically, not at that level. And then not everybody has the know-how, the experience, or the resources to do something like what Jason Eaton is doing. You know,
Mhm.
every time I look at his work, it reminds me of that interview with Prince, where they ask him, "Well, what kind of music do you like?" "Well, I like my own music." "Okay, well, what happens if you want to listen to something new?" "Well, I just create it." "Well, wouldn't that be fucking wonderful if you can just
Mhm.
write music and create what you want?"
Yeah. I don't know
But
about
Jason
you.
is at that.
I don't know about you, but I see Jason Eaton on a different level.
Well,
Like
that's what I mean. So that's why that I said I brought that. I mean, not that I'm comparing him to Prince, and but in an
no.
artistic endeavor perspective, it's just that when you have that mindset, in that level of you know know-how and experience, and just your mind working in that way, to be able to just say, hey, I want to create this, and there's nothing, like for example, he's working on the concept probe droid. Okay, he's just doing it all off the top of his head,
Yeah.
and that's all outside the
Next
box, and
level.
you really
That's
get
next level
next
stuff.
level. Yeah, and you really get to tip your hat to that in a different way. But that's what's fantastic about bouncing around and getting so enthralled and sort of involved in this studio scale stuff, because there's a lot to it. I feel like you have a lot of elements. Like we're getting into the, Steve's getting into the found part stuff. I've been into that for a little while. It has its element of that when you're looking at the IDing and finding the kits and parts, and then it's the build part, which you're actually physically doing something that you have to,
Mhm.
see an end result. That
Mhm.
when you get to that end result, it pays off in a lot of different ways. It's very rewarding. You have a beautiful display piece, and they just look amazing. I mean, who doesn't like or want a nice ship or
I think both
apartment
of our
collection?
friends are starting to come around. They're both starting to really take notice to these ship
Yeah,
models, you know. Um, especially I think I see Steve eventually really jumping into it pretty heavy.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think Matt's ever really, like, he's been tongue in cheek about it, but I don't think he's ever really directly shut it down in a way where he was against it. He doesn't want to have to do the work.
Yeah.
And I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can respect
it's a task. It's not easy.
No, and neither is, I mean, even when people do, hilts, and I remember that night a year ago when we were looking at the different hilts, and it's kind of like Profi this and NeoPixel that and this, that, and the other. Like, no, you just want to take it out of the box and put it on display, right? You don't want to do the dance sometimes. And some people, it's just not, they don't have the time, the effort, the energy, the resources, or the know-how. Some people do, and they just don't want to. They're at a point where they rather pay somebody else to do it. There's a couple guys that offer services where you can get hilts or kits or send something out and they'll do it all for you. And yeah, you just throw it up and put it on display.
I didn't think I would be building kits for people either. And here I am doing that now. I'm starting to,
Yeah.
But I'm kind of obsessed a lot. I end up staying up overnight while everybody else is asleep and working on these things when I'm not being bothered by 5 kids and 4 dogs and Linda and so.
Yeah, but that's the best time to be in the zone.
Oh, yeah.
See, I used to get like that with the found parts. I used to like getting, figuring out what part goes with what and then building it, and getting into it. And, like I tip my hat to Steve. Steve's done some amazing stuff with his recent knowledge and jump into the found parts world. But at the same time, part of it's like, oh, that's exciting because he gets to relive that from, it's kind of like an amazing movie. What is it?
Girlfriend. It's like a new girlfriend.
Yeah. But then at the same time, it's like, and this is just my perspective, and I'm not taking away from what he's done. But there are certain things that he's done. He's done it so quickly. I personally just think, not one particular piece that he's built. Not really. I think I actually commend him for being able to do it as quickly as he has, because otherwise it could have been a headache in and of its own. But some of the other pieces, part of the chase is what's so much fun about the found parts. It's discovering, finding, chasing down. If you can just buy everything up just to do it, it's kind of like, well, because I still have stuff that I was doing 3, 4, 5 years ago that aren't complete because I'm still waiting for this one piece here or that one piece there. But I like that. I like knowing that one day, I'd have put in X amount of time and X amount of whatever, and I'll now have that final piece, and I really like that. Yeah, like Russell said, found piece can be years in the making, and you need to enjoy the hunt. But when it's complete, what a payoff. Exactly. And one thing I'm noticing is sometimes there's such an ambition and an excitement, Russell, to get those pieces completed that you start throwing money at the issue. It's like, well, let me just get this done. Let me scoop this all up. Let me get all these parts and just pay what I can and not overpay, but just spend that money to get it done. And it's like, well, that's great and that's fun, yes, because you have the piece. And it didn't take you a year, 3 years, 5 years. But at the same time, as you mentioned, that's kind of what part of the fun is. Yes, Robin. What Steve was able to do with the Obi-Wan, I definitely got to tip my hat to him, because when I first did mine, which I had parted with about 3 or 4 years ago, it took me a couple of years to piece together, and it was not an easy task. And granted, it was much less expensive, than it was a lot less cheaper when I had done it. Probably half of what it would cost you to do now, maybe a little less than half. So yeah, being able to do that as quickly as he has, that I commend. There's a lot of respect and wow factor there. But some of the other pieces, it's kind of like, hey, enjoy it a little bit. Don't just buy it all up to consume it and have it. Enjoy it a little bit. You're in the found parts game. Take a deep breath and let it roll. But again, teach their own. I mean, everybody has a different approach to it. There's also that fear of, well, what if I start it and I can't find those pieces to finish it? But that's kind of the name of the game with the found parts. Nah, Chris is still in the basement. He's in a hotel tonight. That's why he's on.
What was it, Chris? Did your wife let you up in the actual house? You're usually locked in the basement. Nah, she keeps me locked up and cuffed up in the bedroom. So I'm in a hotel tonight, but usually I'm in my basement. That's where I do my video from. So yeah. Steve.
Yeah, I agree. Very proud. I think it's amazing what he was able to do.
What were you saying? What you were saying before about found parts taking a long time? Steve's just too impatient.
Well, that's what we were talking when you jumped off for a minute.
Yeah.
I think Robin said true. So same with the Obi-Wan hilt. I think what he was able to do with that is definitely commendable and amazing. However, on the flip side, some of the other pieces, not that he's done many, but a few, he kind of just like threw money at it, consumed it as quickly as possible, and built it. And it's just like give it a little breathing room and enjoy it, you know.
Yeah.
But again, teach their own. It's not a bad thing.
I'm like him. Honestly, I don't think I could be patient. I'd have to either. I can't wait for stuff. Like,
So you know why I'm patient, Chris? Because I've been doing it for so long that I've learned that when you're impatient, other things pop up,
yeah,
or things get rediscovered, or it's like, hey, for the last decade we thought it was this, and now we just figured out it was this, and you're like, oh, now I got to go back and find this part, and that's always going to happen. It's never not going to happen, but there's been plenty of times where I've been in such a rush to finish something that I realized if I do take my time and I do sit back and take a breath, not only do I have to take shortcuts and put placeholders and things like that, I can avoid doing that. And you just get to really figure out and learn all about that one particular piece you're working on at that given moment.
Well, part of the problem though too is when you wait for that. If you're patient and you wait for something, generally it goes up in price. Like,
yeah,
I kind of put my vintage on the back burner because I'll get it then. Vintage is going up more than it was before. Like, there's a couple pieces that I won't ever have because it's gotten too expensive and too hard to come by. Like, there's a couple ships I want. Like,
you start to price yourself out. Yeah.
yes, like I want a Star Wars Sandcrawler. I don't think I'll ever own that. It's like up in the $9,000-$10,000 for a decent one, sealed. And I could have had one a couple years ago for $4 maybe, and I passed on it. But I wish I kicked myself now because I won't ever have it.
Yeah.
There's
not too many things I did that to myself with. A few pieces, more or less, like not necessarily priced myself out, but I've passed on things and then they just never became available again.
Yeah.
That burns me up a little bit. There's a few things I wish I hadn't passed on. And it's just like, but you just never know. I mean, look at where we were just as early as 6 years ago before The Force Awakens. Star Wars was such a dead stop. People were giving this stuff away for free. I mean, you couldn't get it. I mean, even like master replica stuff, icon stuff, EFX stuff, like the stuff that was still readily commercially available. People who collected Sideshow at the time, which, I was buying stuff, statues with 275, 300. I remember when I first came into the fold with you guys, watching you guys buy the Mythos for $1,000 plus. I personally thought it was nuts because I'm like, oh my God, I paid $280 for that thing, and you guys are paying $1,200, $1,500. I'm like, that's bonkers. But that's where you go in such a short time. So before The Force Awakens and the Star Wars hype sort of came back around, stuff was just dormant. People were getting rid of their collections. A lot of the people that were collecting were getting older and parting their collections out. It's pretty interesting to see that transition. And then it brought a whole new world of fans back in. It regenerated a number of fans. And, now here we are today in a very interesting time.
So Kyle asked what the rarest vintage piece I have. So what's funny about vintage is people think that it's rare. It's not. It's just there's nothing really okay, I take that back. There's some things that are really hard to get, like a double telescoping Obi-Wan. Really hard to get, very expensive. You probably won't ever see one, on card, okay? But for the most part, you can pretty much go on eBay and buy almost anything. Okay. Now, doesn't mean it's not priced high. Okay. People will still buy them for that high price. That doesn't necessarily mean it's rare. Diamonds. There's a bazillion diamonds. They're not rare, but they're expensive. Okay. So I don't really have any that are really rare per se, but I think my favorite thing, my favorite three things are my Revenge of the Jedi proof stuff. That's a little more rare because it's like unproduced items. It's unproduced Millennium Falcon, artwork for the ship, for the box, and I have two proof cards that don't have figures on them. They're Zuckuss and Forlom. Those are if I have to say anything's really rare, those might be the rarest. And they're they come around sometimes, but not very often. No Rocket Fire and Boba Fett in my collection. There is a Rocket Fire and Boba Fett actually, but it is not. It was a reproduction one done a bunch of years ago, and even that sells for a couple $100 right now because they made them very well, but you can tell the difference between that one and a real one. But I just got it because it was cool looking. I would never own a $250,000 figure.
No, here's the funny thing about this, and Chris, you know this. I actually owned a real Rocket Fire and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
One of our past guests is actually the person who helped facilitate the sale. He was actually the liaison of the sale. So in case anybody thinks it's a tall tale. But the funny part is I had bought it so long ago. It was 2000. I'm not even 1990. It was, oh my God, 22, 23 years ago. I had bought it at a time where if I had told people the price, they'd probably fall off their chair at how cheap it was. It would be considered today, but back then,
that
it was a lot of money.
That thing at one point was $10,000, and people were like,
"That's
holy
exactly
shit!" Like that was
that's
a
exactly
lot
what I
of
was
money.
saying. So that's exactly what I was saying, Chris. So at that time, I was going to say, if I said the price, which it was right around that mark, people today would be like, "Oh my God, that's crazy!" Like low wise, but back then, it wasn't anything to sneeze at. That was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually something to be taken into consideration where I had to actually discuss it with my significant other of that time that I was dating. And, I wasn't even 20 years old yet. And I just been into collecting for just a few years. I was very green, but the offer came up. And she actually assisted with, helping me acquire it. But I got it it was around the 10 mark. And even when I sold it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
But wasn't there a video at some point where was this skater guy who bought one for like $10,000-$12,000, and it was like, holy shit, that's like unbelievable.
Crazy money, yeah.
Now the thing sells at auctions for anywhere between $150,000 to $250,000. Now, I mean, I never thought I would see one, but I saw one at a convention once where they were showing it, like the auction house was showing it, and looking at it like it's this holy grail that people think about as the best thing in the world. But when I looked at it, I was like, wow, it's just a 3 3/4 figure that's open. Like, isn't it a package?
Yeah, mine had ink marks on the foot. It was written on.
Yeah.
It was missing the actual rocket. I think a replica rocket tip was made to go with it. I'd owned it for about 3 years, a little over 3 years, and when I sold it, I'm not going to tell the exact details, but I probably got about a 45% return, but it was still sold. The person who purchased it, or the people, whatever you want to call it, who purchased it, because it's been put out there after the fact, it was under 20. I sold it for under 20, but I had still made about 45% back on it after just owning it for a few years.
Knowing what I know now, I should have bought it back then for $10,000 and kept it. But
I would have never thought it was going for that kind of, because like I said, at the 9-10K mark, I think 9.7, or like when I initially bought it, the person was asking 10.5 or 11. I think we were up like 9.7, whatever it was. That was like astronomical amount of money to me. That was like crazy money.
Nowadays, though, like a Power of the Force Anakin and a Power of the Force Yak Face, now those are in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. 8 to 15, depending on quality. Speaking of quality, look who it is. So also, somebody made a good point here. Russell, rare plus vintage plus nice condition, that can
Yes.
that can challenge. So what is getting harder to have to find now is vintage figures that have a clear bubble, because after so many
Yeah.
years, the bubbles are the plastic is starting to degrade, and they're
No matter what
turning.
you do, they degrade. I heard of collectors recently of taking a lot of their collection off display and putting them in dark climate controlled rooms.
Doesn't matter. It's not gonna, I mean, it might help
Yeah,
a little
just
bit.
it just like anything, like
Yeah.
like anything in the world,
Yeah.
it degrades.
And nowadays, people will pay more to get that yellow, that clear plastic. I mean, I have a lot of clear, and I have it all depends on where it was made. You know, most of the Jedi figures are yellow. Most of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have figures that are almost like fresh out of the case, right, Claire?
Yeah, I have a lot of clear
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, I intentionally from the beginning never really bought yellow ones if I could get around it. And I actually, there was a friend of mine who had a bunch of figures, and I had ones that were slightly yellowed, and I bought them off of him to get upgrades. I did like 10 or 20 of them like that. So yeah, finding them clear bubbles is the new
That's the new, yeah, it's a
the
thing.
new thing. Yeah, to find them clear.
Which
Yeah.
I was always wondering. So like the George Boba Fett, right? We talked about that a few times. Now, because that was Jedi era, was that made with the similar bubbles? Because that bubble is pretty clear.
Not always. It's not always clear. No. A lot of the droids ones do stay more clear.
Yeah, that's what I meant time wise, because they were released right around
Like I said,
Jedi Power of the Force, right?
it depends on where they were made. Why do we keep getting this?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, mine still has quite a clear bubble, which is ironic. I think the bubble on my droid's boba is more clear than the bubble on the 21 back. The 21 back is
Okay.
starting to get that. It's not yellowing, but it's
Mhm.
getting that it's getting hazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It really all depends where it was made. Like,
it's so
you know,
so interesting.
there
I
are
found
some
this what
Jedi. There's some Jedi figures. Okay, there's some Jedi figures that every single one of them is yellow. Okay, like if you say, let's say, trying to think, uh, let's just say, Power of the Force, Han, and Carbonite. Okay, almost every one of them is yellow. Okay, and I feel like those were made in a specific area. Okay, where they got this specific plastic. Okay, and then you have Power of the Force, let's say, Death Star Gunner. Okay, where I'm not sure if that's the one or not, but let's say they're all clear. Okay, they may all, every single one of those might be clear that you see. Were they made in a different area? Who knows? Like, it just seems like certain ones are always very yellow, and certain ones are always pretty clear. And then there's variations, but I'd have to go back and look at mine, because I know there's a couple that almost are always clear. And like the Star Wars ones, the 12 backs, they stay pretty clear for the most part. You'll
yeah, if
find more,
treated right, they do. Yeah.
yeah, you'll see more Star Wars 12 backs clear than you will Jedi's. It's all because of the type of plastic they use. They switch.
There's a lot of weird things that went on with the vintage. I mean, look
Mhm,
at the Trilogo bubble, the forked bubble, right?
mhm.
It's they're so case fresh and so pristine, and it's now one of those things where it's actually harder to find one that had made it on the shelves into the stores than it is to find one that's untouched and case fresh, because those ones are more available and readily accessible than it is to finally get into the stores and onto a peg. It's just such a weird thing, all the stuff that had gone on with those.
So, Russell, are you finding that you have to have grading on the toys now? If you want to sell it, yes,
Mhm.
because it's that peace of mind of knowing that it's not a forgery. Okay. Plus, you could
Plus,
have,
grading is so subjective.
it
Yeah,
is very subjective, but it immediately adds
adds value.
bigger price tag to it
Well,
immediately.
like And what I meant by subjective, Chris, somebody can say, if they have an ungraded piece, they can say, hey, this is a mint on card figure.
Yeah.
And we throw around, oh, C9, C9 plus, but you may get it. And
Yeah.
in your mind, it may be a C7, and it may not have been worth what you paid. So this way, it kind of creates that standard and gives you that psychological, peace of mind. Like Chris had stated, one for authenticity purposes, only because technology has gotten so good. It's a newbie or somebody who's new to the game with a lot of money to spend and looking to piece a collection together may not know any better. Even loose figures now, you got to be careful. More people are grading loose figures because you have people just making these things that you almost can't tell the difference when you're holding them in hand. They're getting that good. I remember for a while when I started seeing the prototype Bobas, actually after having a real one and seeing the dummy ones that like coming out of Singapore from like Mark Boone stuff, there was so many just telltales. Like it was like, oh, that's just a regular Kenner that's been, sort of gutted in the back to have a spring put in it. But yeah, nowadays, I mean, you have Smith Lord and you have, all these other guys that are making them. And I mean, you just jump into your computer, scan something, 3D print it up, cast it, and you get a Kenner style figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the grading, and I didn't know this. Me and Chris had a long talk about grading. I had two on cards that were sitting ungraded for a long time, and it was Chris's suggestion, by Chris's suggestion that made me turn around and get them graded, which I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I mean, it makes them look nice too. Don't get me wrong. I don't. I have no problem buying ungraded because I'm pretty good at picking out fakes. That way I get it for a cheaper price.
And then grade it yourself.
Yes. Well, no, I don't send things out to get graded because I don't sell them. I buy the acrylic case to put them in so they look like they look nice.
For the displayability purposes.
For displayability. I don't send things out to get graded. I want to send out that Millennium Falcon print. One of these days I'll get around to doing it, but it's taken me how many months now? Almost 8 months since I bought it.
Yeah, 7, 8 months.
Yeah, I still haven't sent it out. But I want to eventually.
Yeah, Russell makes a good point too here. Stickers, guns, and that's the thing, Russell, too. Like there was the whole, the drop test, the light test, the water test, and now all that's been bypassed. And those used to be pretty, pretty
Accurate.
affirmative ways to, accurate and affirmative ways to decide to test whether, and these even weren't, and that wasn't even in the time where like a layer, accessory blaster was going for 150 by itself. I'll whip out the figure. Now you have, stickers for the astromech drawers or even for the cards, like the free giveaways, the free Emperor, the free Akbar. Like you have the stickers that are exact. And yeah, it's.
They even make original price stickers too. Like they make them so they look like they're old and.
Oh, like the vintage store gun, the gun stickers.
No, the old store stickers. Yes, they do that.
Yeah, but those come off a gun. So wouldn't that be hard? That'd be easy to point out, no?
But they make them so that they don't come off the gun. They just make them so they look.
No, I know, but I'm saying because of the way they like work in real life, that'd be easy to spot.
No, because you can't tell. Like you can't tell that the sticker was applied with those gun. There's no.
They have that weird little almost like a model. What is it called? The spruce.
The spruce.
Like a little
spruce
thing
cut.
Yeah.
They can imitate that.
Jeez.
See now, they make a strip. They make a strip of them. And they just pick them apart.
Yeah. See, being new with a lot of money in the collecting game scares me. That's why, I mean, not that particular reason, but that's why I enjoy the due diligence. A lot of people find the due diligence exhausting. That's one of the things I enjoy most. And I think, anybody who knows me personally, Chris, Matt, those guys know that that's the thing I like most about collecting is the constant, learning and, and just picking up on new things and finding new things out. I love that stuff.
So Kyle, which grading company in your experience is more respectable and or fair in their grading process? Okay. So this is the thing. AFA is the most widely recognized. They're the bigger company. Most people have things graded by AFA. But a lot of people were getting fed up with their grading process. Like you might have like a grade of a 90, a 70, and an 80, and an overall of like 75. And it's like, well, why is that? and sometimes there's not really even a reason, and people were getting frustrated with it. So a new company popped up called CAS, CAS, and they had a better formula for grading, and they were quicker with their turnaround, and they were also they're kind of innovative in how they were like displaying these pieces. They would laser cut, like let's say you had a loose figure and it came with a helmet or a weapon. They would laser cut the shape of the weapon and display it right next to it, and it looks great. Like just Cass's displays look so much better. Okay, but even though they have a better grading process and better display, most people still resort back to the AFA company. I've even had people tell me, it's never happened to me personally, but other collectors that I've talked to, friends that I've bought things from and stuff, they've told me that while they were trying to sell some of their pieces that were graded by CAS, they would want them to resubmit it to AFA so that because they wanted it, because AFA has a better, you can get more value out of AFA. If that makes any sense. It
I
doesn't
remember
to
when you
me.
told me that for the first time,
Yeah.
Chris. I was like,
Yeah,
people
well,
are actually pulling them out of the CAS. And as you mentioned, I think the CAS, especially the loose figures, is so much more aesthetically appealing for display purposes. But people wanted the AFA because it doesn't technically bring more peace of mind, but it holds more value. Yeah,
it does hold more value, and if you put a CAS piece and a AFA piece on eBay right next to each other,
same exact figure, same exact grade, the AFA will get more, right?
AFA would get more. Yeah,
Crazy.
it's crazy. Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's kind of the same for comics, right?
I don't know. I mean, how many? I don't know that
CGC
there's.
versus what's the other one there?
I have no idea what the other one is. I've never really dealt with comic grading before.
Yeah.
I have tons of comics, and I don't have one single one of them graded ever. Me personally, I buy graded figures. I buy ungraded figures. You're right, Kyle. It's about name your reputation. Sometimes AFA's reputation was shit on because, like I told
Yeah,
you,
they cut a
they
dude.
caught a lot of shit because they were taking too long, and their formula was wonky. Like it didn't make a lot of sense. Um, but like I said, I've never sent a piece out to be graded. Not yet.
Well, for a while, I think people were doing with AFA, kind of like they were doing with CGC, where that a figure was coming back with a certain grade, they would crack it open, resend it, and get a complete different grade.
Completely
And they were
different
sort of
grade.
challenging AFA on that and saying, well, why did you give it this grade? And now it came back with a complete different number.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how subjective it is, even with professionals.
I actually had I had a Han Solo figure, okay, a Han Solo 12 back, and it had the label on the top, and I hated that. Okay, I like it on the side. I hate the bar on top because I feel like it takes away from the display of the figure.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, when I was broke, I was gonna sell it, and I put it on eBay. Okay, and people start writing me. They're like, "What the hell's going on with this listing?" It's not. So it was a 12 back Han Solo, and when you typed in the number for it, like they all have a barcode, they all have a serial number. If you take that serial number and you type it in on the website, it'll bring up what it is, the grade, verifying everything, like the background of it. Okay. So when people would type this in to AFA, it came up superpowers, Secret Wars, Doctor Doom. And I was like, why are all these people writing me about Doctor Doom? They're like, why are you trying to scam us by putting this as a Doctor Doom? I'm like, the hell are you talking about? So I wrote AFA and had them change the number, fix it, do it. They fucked it up somewhere along the line and fix it. And, I still have it. I never sold it. So, Yeah, they're not infallible.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Cass does have better display cases. You're right.
They do, especially for the loose, man. The way they do the figure and the weapon, and even with the coins. If it has a coin, the coin is like floating next to the figure.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them do loose ships and like rankers and stuff like that? Man, they
I've seen
do.
a few, yeah.
And
I've seen a
ships,
guy who had the.
they do a hell of a job on that stuff too. I mean, it's expensive, but it's
Yeah, but it does look good with the
beautiful.
acrylic. I saw a guy with a black Wampa
Yeah.
that was cased in a CAS, and that looked fantastic.
Yeah, they're pretty innovative when they come to how they display things. I've seen it, and Castle do other things too. They'll do like Jordans. They'll do. Oh wait, hold on a second. I did have something signed out to get graded. What the hell was that? For Cass, I had it done. Fuck. I don't remember. I remember dropping it off at a comic store, because they used to go to the comic stores, and fuck, what was that?
Oh, and you had them do it? Like you dropped it for them to do it?
I dropped it off at the comic store, and so I didn't have to pay shipping. Damn it. I should do that with my my Millennium Falcon. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
Because I'm afraid to ship it. I'm afraid to ship it. I really am. And I know if I give it to them, they're gonna ship it. Or sometimes they actually take it and fly pieces right down to, they're wherever, like I think they're in Florida or something like that.
Not only am I still sketched out about shipping, but anything 2 or 3 months before that, well, not that's a bit of a stretch. Anything like a month and a half, 2 months before the holidays and a month after the holidays,
Hell
oh
no.
my God, it causes me
Hell no.
so much mental stress.
Yeah. Well, you have bad luck with shipping anyway, so.
Well, yeah, because like anything New York, East Coast, like it just there's so many delays and it bounces all over the place. And I think it's not just me. I think.
Don't you live in a weird zone when it comes to postal things too?
Yeah, so it's a catch-22. We're right in between things coming in from New York and Logan.
Yeah.
So sometimes, even though things would be coming in from one direction, they'll get routed back through, and they'll come through New York, New Jersey, and back around. So that creates a delay, or they'll have to pass through certain hubs. So anything going out like priority mail, for example, if I ship you something, it has to pass through a hub in Manchester, New Hampshire, and get sorted and moved on from there. And this is what causes these delays. And I think anybody that's located on the East Coast or in the New England area will know that, especially around the holiday times, both incoming and outgoing, unless you're dealing with like Amazon or DHL for the most part, USPS and UPS is just an absolute nightmare. And half the time you're going on a wild goose chase, so you have to allocate it somewhere or pick it up at the depot. It's just it's nuts.
Well, I saw on Facebook that's prices for UPS are going up like 5%.
Oh, they're going through the roof.
They're going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's still it's funny. I was mentioning earlier that I may actually part with a couple of my master replica hilts to make room for some of these more unique hilts that I've been picking up. And one of the things is if I do so, the person I know and I've been talking to directly, it's not a random sale, but the thing is, part of the agreement was that I would cover shipping, but shipping, as I did a few additional realistic quotes, like direct quotes with the information at hand, shipping was racking up to be quite a bit more, probably double what I expected it to be, and I was really surprised because these pieces aren't that big or that heavy. I mean, they are, but they're not considering. So the price quotes that I was getting was just absurd, unless I was like 10-day.
I sent something to Mike Costa. Okay, I live in Pennsylvania, a little north of Philadelphia. He lives in Tennessee, I think close to Nashville. Okay. It was big. It was 25 pounds, 3 foot by 16 inches by 12 inches. No, it was 15 inches. And I couldn't believe how cheap it was for 2-day shipping. Like, it was literally only like $28. I could not believe it.
You know why, Chris?
Why?
They don't check because you're not in a zone, like I said, like a New York or Boston, where you're not in a hub zone. You guys are like, more, going west a little bit.
Central, yeah.
Central and west. The thing is they don't do the whole surcharge of like if I bring a package even to the post office, now this happens to most people, but you'll see it more in like areas like mine or people on the West Coast. They'll measure anything and everything, not just like a larger, like most people use that they bring in like a medium to large size package. I can bring in a tube. I can bring in even if as long as it's not in the those boxes that are like they have the price already, medium, whatever you can fit in the box is that price. They'll measure it, anything and everything. So that also creates a thing. UPS does it. Like I've had packages go out and they'll say, oh, well, this is, you said that this is a 38-pound package. It's a 40-pound package. And they've actually rerouted it back to me to put the additional postage on for the 0.2 pounds. Now, that doesn't happen when you start going to like Central and to West. They just, if it's a pound off or an inch off, they just send it. It's whatever. So you can get away with stuff like that a little bit. Because they're not checking it. But because it passes through so many major hubs here, they check every inch, every pound. So sometimes it can be an honest mistake. If you have a box that's 24 by 24 by 24, and you put that it's 23 by 23 by 23, it'll get caught up in the system for 3 weeks and they get shot back to you, which is just, it's just such a nightmare. I can't stand it.
Why? I wonder why it is sometimes.
You playing whack-a-mole again?
I am playing whack-a-mole. I'm wondering why sometimes, like, most of our shows they don't show up, but then like one or two, it's like
because they know you're on.
I thought it was you.
That could be me.
Probably. Sexy beast, you.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know it.
Well, we've gone 2 hours, dude, talking about nothing.
I know. Absolutely nothing. It's like real life.
Yeah. I mean, literally, we like, I drive a lot, so I'm on the road for 3-4 hours at a time, and I just call Jason and we'll just shoot the shit for, the whole time or that I'm driving. It makes my
I just sit on my balls putting buttons all day. So
that's right. Yeah.
That too. Yeah, it's a hard life.
It's tough. But yeah, we might want to cut quits right now because it's 12 o'clock and I probably have to get
up good time.
5 hours.
I agree. Good time.
It was a good time. Fun to come on and talk. We do have group therapy this Friday.
We do. That's right. Be there or be square, people.
I think I'm going to make it. I haven't been on group therapy and couldn't tell you how long. I just Friday nights are tough. So, yeah. Thanks for joining us. We probably, out of the 20, there's probably like 5 actually listening, so. But
yeah, the rest we're just ambient noise for the rest of them.
Yeah, to put them asleep. But thanks Benjamin and Robin and Russell and Kyle and let's see who else. Those are the guys talking lately. Yeah, those are the guys been talking for like the last hour. those 4. So maybe we have 4 people watching.
Everybody else just left their YouTube up and running.
I'm going back, and James is the last person to comment at 11:30.
Aaron, James, yeah, David.
Yeah. Well,
Matt, I don't know why you never came on.
Should have joined us, Matt.
He was, he was gonna come on. He's like, let me see what they're talking about. He's like, Studio Skelly. He's like, fuck that.
Fuck that. Fuck that
He's
shit.
like, forget it. I'm all set.
Yeah. All right, my man. I'm gonna say good night to everybody, and we'll see you guys on Friday. And peace out.